Good afternoon, everybody. So it's introduction is done. So with that part that part is done. Firstly, as it is said here, that we will speak about the practical cases, how to build up the seamlessly working digital society. But I think firstly we should speak about who is Estonian ICT cluster and why we are here, why we are the ones who's saying that we can present you the practical things. Estonian ICT cluster is a non-governmental, non-profit cooperation platform for more than 90 companies in Estonia. So we basically gathering all those companies who are behind the groundbreaking e-governance solutions. What we have done here and what we for today have already exported in many other countries. Our companies have been partnering for the last 20 years with our public sector in order to build up the seamlessly working digital society here. And that is the reason why we believing that we have gathered all together these best competences, all from the companies who have done different kind of parts of these e-government services. And our main aim is to share this experience, how to build up the most secure, fully integrated digital government. This is in order to help other countries to build up their world-class digital societies. This is something what we believe, and what we believe that we can give to the others and we can share with others. For example, past 2 weeks. Past 2 weeks we have been together with our companies in traveling around in Africa. We did this kind of e-government workshop in Abidjan together with African Union for the several countries. Then we participated in Kigali in Transform Africa event and presented there our Estonian approach and had lots of very interesting talks with different countries, that what are their main challenges, what they're doing. And the main, this kind of intention, or what we have seen there, and what I also think what comes up from here, from these 2 days, are that you're hearing very many information that what is e-government, and what different countries have done, or why the digitalization is so important. But then quite logically is that the next step, that it's raised the question that, okay, let's say that I believe that the digitalization is the way how to go forward, is the way how to gain the economical welfare and more transparent governance in your country. Then how to go on, what should be the logical next steps, and who could help me in this path? And I think we know, we have done these pain points, and we know and can share what are the main key factors about what you should think. And we know also from the very practical level that what are the main challenges about what to think. And this is the thing what we want to share here today. And without, let's say, any further this kind of introduction, I would like to invite here on the stage then my dear cluster partner, one of our cluster partners, then Lembit, please.
Thank you, Doris. Cluster partner, that's a very strange term. So, good afternoon, everybody. And so let's talk about some practical cases and what can cooperation with Estonian ICT cluster mean for you, and what benefit could we bring. When we're actually looking at this panel, we were like, why are we in the eStonia panel? Because we're actually going to talk about everything outside of Estonia. So you've heard so much about what is e-governance. You've gone through so many different presentations of how things have been done in Estonia and everything like this. First, I will do a little bit of repetition, and then I will go into some practical things that actually, where Estonian ICT cluster may be able to provide some value to you in this interesting path to e-governance. As I said, a little bit of repetition. I'm sure you've heard about it, you've been to the showroom, you've seen all the different presentations, but they say that repetition is the mother of wisdom, so let's go through this. By now, most probably you know that there's this thing called once-only principle, where the government should be only asking any particular type of information once. And if it's available in any of the registries or any of the systems, it should get that information from there automatically. To do that, those systems do need to be connected, and one key part of the connection is actually being able to identify a person or a business. So you need to have a strong authentication, and also you need to have digital signature for approving the processes, so you know who the people are. So once you have the information of where particular person's information, which system it is that you would like to bring in, you need to have a way of bringing in that information. That's where it comes into the interoperability and the secure data exchange. In Estonia, we use X-Road. Many countries are using similar methodologies. Our partner, cluster member Cybernetic, is offering UXP for this. So this is how you connect those systems. So now you know that you want to do once only. You know how to identify your people. You have a methodology for them to securely log into the systems and also sign documents digitally. And now you can exchange this data as well. It brings to you transparency in the system. You have the visibility and transparency of the transaction, of the historical transaction, and everything like this. Very key in advancing e-governance. With transparency also comes accountability. Who's been doing what, when, where, and how. You have all this information. Another key principle that we use in Estonia and that we adhere to, that everything should be available over the internet, and everything should be developed on open technologies and available through regular internet technologies, regular browsers, everything like this. No proprietary client solution or anything like this. There are a few exceptions. The election or e-voting solution is an exception, but there is a security reasons for that. And also, that the system should be secured by design. So actually, all security implications should be taken into account when the systems are developed and deployed. And the standardized framework for actually rolling out all the solutions. So you've heard all about it, and you have this desire on how to do it, and you think about it, how do we start doing it in our countries, or how do you advance those projects? And one thing is to have an understanding where I want to get to and what are the important things. The other thing that is our experience is actually, and that experience from the last 25 years doing in Estonia and doing those projects worldwide. The next thing is actually very important, is the approach. How do I approach this? It may sound a humongous task of, I want to have e-governance, I want to have everything in place, I want to have all my ministries doing this, all of the organizations at the same time. I want to have interoperability, I want to have digital signatures, all of this. Excuse me. So how do I achieve this? Well, our experience is that you really need to have a very tight balance between three things. Very often the temptation is to go first to technology. Let's find out what the technology is, and then start figuring out, let's implement or install and start working on this. But our experience is that you have to have three things in parallel. First of all, the policy. You need to understand what are the policies in our country, what is the legal environment, what are our capabilities, what we can do. Legal environment, do the laws allow digital identification? Do the laws allow digital signature? Is the digital signature equal to the paper signature? Do we have a policy of once-only principle? Is that something that we want, that we desire? How do we actually reflect that in the regulation or the different strategy documents? And see the digital security agreements and all of this. So the policy level is actually very important. Next one is that anytime you implement any type of IT solution, you are actually implementing a process and organizational change. This is an opportunity to really streamline the process reevaluate. Are all those steps necessary? Are all the methodologies necessary? It's an old saying that you can automate the bad process. You just do a bad process 10 times faster. So that is an organizational level. Do we have the right strategies in place? Are we ready to do we have the capacity to fulfill our goals and go through those projects? Are people competent enough? Are we able to hire new people who know those competencies? Are we able to train the people? Everything like this. and as I said, process reengineering, and also the process of digitalization. Are we really ready to go from paper to digital? So when you have those two in place, that's where actually the true change management starts. It's the ICT implementation, installing the software, implementing it, connecting with existing systems, bringing in the data from other parts or the paper world, and so forth. Mentoring, training, knowledge transfer of how to actually get the best knowledge, how do we train our people, how do we maintain actually the retrospectives, and how do we establish this continuous learning process going forward. So these are kind of my theory slides, and I'm going to go into a little bit more specific of where ICT cluster comes into the play. Where the companies are, the ICT cluster, it's the companies who have been behind many of the developments in Estonia. I already mentioned cybernetic and interoperability. Actor is a cluster member also, interoperability, state finances, and all this. My own company, or company that I work for, Net Group, with e-justice systems, and so on and so on. So, and after having been part of those exciting times in Estonia, we are actually focusing on kind of spreading this knowledge worldwide. So what is kind of our value offer? When I go from kind of technology or the standpoint, it's really digital infrastructure, population register, law enforcement, e-justice, e-taxation, public finance management, all of those things that you've heard so much over the 2 days over here. So these are actually the competences that we bring to other countries. And not only those solutions or those deliverables, I mean, behind any one of those technologies or any one of those fields, we have projects that we can bring from all around the world. And what are the kind of the specific developments when we deliverables when we say that we bring those things? Legal and policy advisory. And this is something that actually in Estonia we have quite good cooperation with the e-governance agency that is organizing this conference. But it is a place where ICT cluster has been bringing quite a bit of value in having those communications and having those discussions with different organizations as well. Change management framework. How to really manage this change? How to make those changes happen? We cooperate very closely with the Estonian public sector, actually, in bringing this knowledge to the countries around the world. Capacity building readiness. How do we get the people ready? What are the specific knowledges or specific experiences, specific education that is needed for the organization to be ready to adapt and accept the change? Obviously, technology implementation. We are technology companies first and foremost, in addition to those other parts. And knowledge transfer, training, mentoring. It's really bringing the experience of not just knowing how the technologies work out, having developed those technologies, but having multiple implementations, having gone through multiple implementations, actually knowing the places where you can have some successes by sidestepping some steps, or also some of the failures that we've seen, that some of the things that don't work. So when we talk about the broader cooperation, I will bring actually an example that what we've been doing with in African countries. Estonia signed a cooperation agreement with African Union in 2017, and there are many different topics and points of that agreement. One of them was the information and experience transfer and then sharing that knowledge. As a part of this, we actually developed the Estonian ICT cluster together with the African Union and together with the Estonian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Developed the e-governance education program. The first program was actually delivered 2 weeks ago in Abidjan, as Doris just mentioned. Many of us have been in this crazy 3-week roadshow by now. But basically, it was a combination of two things. One, it was a kind of academic approach from our cluster member, Tallinn Technical University, or TalTech, as is their new name. So they really based on their experience for having actually the e-governance master's program for a few years now, they actually brought the academic, the foundations, the baselines. What does it actually mean? What actually is e-governance? What does it mean to the policy level, legal level? What are the societal impacts? What are the organizational impacts? And all of this. And we balance this with actually individual companies doing deep dives into the fields or the technologies that they have provided. As the NetGroup did the e-justice track, Cybernetica did the interoperability, Actors did state finances, and so on and so on. I'm looking at who's the representatives that I need to name here. But this is a broader cooperation, and it's actually developing much further because from the EU side, the program is actually also funded by the World Bank. And them having this view of our deliverable, quite interesting discussions were how to take it further and how to make it into kind of a standardized approach to spreading that knowledge and spreading that experience. And as I already mentioned, the Taltech e-governance master's program. There's a 2-year program that is available and that we're spreading as well. So all good talk that there is this wonderful thing called Estonian ICT cluster. They have done great things in Estonia. They're doing things worldwide. But when I say that we've done things worldwide, what do I mean specifically? Actually, Estonians have done projects in over 128 countries, really all over the world in different places. This is together with the e-governance agency. So, and when I list the projects that we've been participated, the list is actually quite nice. We've been fairly busy, let's put it this way. I've highlighted Kyrgyzstan just to appreciate them winning the award yesterday. But, and this list continues growing. Obviously, these are all the projects that are referenceable, that the projects that have been done, that we can talk about, that the customers have allowed us to express. If I would list here, the business development projects or the cooperations projects that we're working on right now, the list would be way, way longer. So this is something that I just wanted to very briefly kind of show, we with Doris wanted to show what the Estonian ICT cluster is. What we've been working with, what is our thinking or approach in delivering e-governance solutions, and and how we address those things. And also, these are the cluster members that are actually present in the e-governance conference. We are all around this area, and I'm pretty sure you walked past by everyone. And the ICT cluster booth is right across this door. So if you haven't managed to come by yet, please do come by, say hello, and let's see and talk how we can take things further. I think I went quite fast on time, but let's succeed together. I'll take some questions now.
Sure, let's do it. Please, round of applause for Lembit.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Doris, of course, as well. You highlighted Kazakhstan. Sorry, tell us a little bit more about that. It was an X-Road implement. I mean, there's a lot of, because what we just heard was there's what, X-Road in all these countries now? What does that mean? Tell us more about how.
It's a different. There was a list of different projects and all of this. I mean, this is Kedi, maybe you can say more, because it wasn't a project that our company did. So to a certain extent, I'm not able to go into great detail in all of the projects.
Of course.
I can talk about the wonderful things that we're doing in Tanzania, but...
Do it, let's do it. Let's hear about it. What's happening in Tanzania. Tell us about that.
Our company we're advising the government of Tanzania, or judiciary of Tanzania, how to bring the judiciary services, the case management, the court case systems, everything like this, into a completely new level. And...
so inside of the courts using those systems
yes.
to process each individual or case and so forth?
Yes, and how to connect actually the court systems and to all the stakeholders. So, in a criminal case, the police discovers the crime, investigators start working on it, prosecutor prosecutes it, then it goes to the court, and if the case goes bad, the person goes to prison. Sure. So actually connecting all of those parties and then having the information flowing. So all participants actually have the full-time real information of what's going on.
And was that system that you implemented Was that a reference system? Was that, I mean, implemented in Estonia or some other country first, or how was that sort of built a little bit more from the ground up?
Based on Estonia. I do have to be very careful about one thing. We had this one agreement inside the cluster and also with EGA that we will not do sales on the stage, other than selling the cluster together. You know, so I don't want to go too much into the net group sales. I think it would be unfair. Yes, we are behind actual development of many of the Estonian e-justice systems.
Okay.
And the results that Estonia has had, you know, for example, the length of average civil case that has gone down from the 156 days to 99 days by just using the digital projects and everything like this. And there's quite a bit of exciting things to say, but I'd rather invite you to, you know, our box and to other cluster member boxes to go into the detailed discussion about the technologies and
Doris, please come to the stage. Come up here. Since he's not allowed to sell, why don't you do some selling then for us instead? Okay, this is a fair one. This is a fair question that came up. I mean, the range of companies in the ICT cluster, they have different experiences in different areas, but they're still separate companies. Why should we come to the ICT cluster and not say just rock up to Accenture and just go, Accenture, you fix it? Because we know Accenture is so good in that sort of stuff. But why? Why wouldn't I just want to go to a big consulting firm who might have some of these solutions and bring it together in one place? Why would I want to then go to all these individual companies?
Okay, but I think first part is that together with these individual companies, yes, they're like individual, but in the cluster, they know how to collaborate together. They know how to put these systems to work together. It's the first thing. And the other part there is also maybe when we speak about why not to choose some kind of big vendor, is that you are not locked up then with a one system. You're not locked up with a one big company and their software, but you can connect out together the best ones. And this is something what we have done here in Estonia and integrated the best experiences all together, and we know how to put there the communication flow. And I think this is the advantage, that our companies know how to collaborate and they can easily adapt it and scale up it in other countries.
Do you only...
Lembit wants to.
Maybe I'll take another stab at it as well. You know, having the experience of being working in Microsoft, Oracle, and IBM.
Yeah.
So there are a couple of things also that many of the countries, including Estonia, actually at the beginning have done this, that we want to have a perfect e-governance solutions, we want to do everything like this.
I trained HP
even when
ago.
the decision was made whether to do X-Road or how to do interoperability, if I know correctly from the history, they found a solution that worked great. It was IBM e-service bus. One of the challenges with this was it was really expensive. So Estonians were like, okay, let's do it ourselves, let's develop it ourselves, we have good people, good scientists, good technologists, and ended up with much better solution, distributed solution. And so there is certain cleverness that we've gone through in Estonia, that when we started 20 years ago, we didn't have many resources, we didn't have any legislation, all of this. So there is a whole lot of innovation that's been done in Estonia. And as individual companies, I think we're actually feeling quite confident in competing against the so-called leading solutions in the world. Because just having that unique experience of actually making really streamlined e-government to work in Estonia, I don't think many of them have that as a reference case.
Sure. How do you manage then the different companies in the cluster? I mean, are there companies that offer similar services, or do you sort of curate your members to make sure there's not a crossover, or hey, I want a judicial system, what happens if there's two people offering that?
They definitely are in certain cases also competitors. In the everyday life, they are competitors. But let's be honest, when we're looking outside Estonia, then the world is the market. And there is, I think the last slide said it all, that let's succeed together. There, it's no point to be competitors. There it's more like back-to-back together as a cluster to go and put together the all different competences. That is what we have learned in our own way already, that it works better. This e-Estonia brand, for example, I think a very good example, works for everybody. This works for the government, it works for the companies, so it's something which works for us, everybody, and it's easier to make this one brand world known than to make every one company world known one by one.
Sure. Okay, I mean, it makes sense. You come together to offer those solutions, the best of all, to do that rather than going to one behemoth company. From my own experience, I would certainly say your Oracles, your IBMs, your Microsofts are going to tell you the opposite. We do it all, we do everything, but then we're locked into those solutions, and they're indeed high prices. And it's an interesting example that you managed to roll it yourself, essentially, and make it work too, because again, that's not typically, of course, what we're told from the big software vendors. We're told this is a terrible idea. We're told this doesn't work. This will take too long. You'll waste your money.
But I will actually add one more component to it. As I said, that it's not just making the technology work or having a technological solution. It's actually a combination of the policy, organizational change, and the change management. Yeah. And this is something that we also feel very confident in those kind of discussions, because many of the large global vendors, they're actually, it is a challenge for them that they're working very hard in making those changes happen and all of this. They often come with quite big price tag. But we have this unique experience of how to do it efficiently and quickly. Yeah. And also how to make those changes in the process level, make these changes in the legislation level. Estonia is a very advanced society also from the establishing new laws when necessary. Right. The developments that we have right now with around artificial intelligence, how to really regulate it and how to use it in the government. So these are some of the things that I think the company who's been advising or providing solutions to a U.S. government or some other governments, they might have hard time with actually answer those questions on how to do it really efficiently and fast. So this is there are quite a bit of differentiator on what we managed to do in Estonia. Being a small country is a good thing.
Indeed.
Sometimes.
Indeed. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much, Lembit. Thank you very much, Doris. Please, one more round of applause for our speakers here. We have a little gift bag for you.